Okay, so we'll move to item 8, the draft Ōtautahi Christchurch Community Strategy. And so Claire is here to present that for us. Welcome, Claire, and Katie's here as well to answer any questions on engagement.
Ngā mihi nui, kia koutou katoa. Hi, everybody. The purpose of today's report is to seek the committee's approval for the draft.
Claire, you're a bit glitchy.
Ōtautahi Christchurch Community. Am I?
Yeah. Do you want to speak without your video on and see if that makes a difference to start with?
Sure. That's off. It's off now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you really clearly now.
Sorry. Yeah, it keeps coming up saying my internet's unstable, so apologies for that. The purpose of this report is to seek the committee's approval for the draft Ōtautahi Christchurch Community Strategy to go out for public consultation. As you know, we've undertaken an extensive review of the previous 2007 Strengthening Community Strategy, and we've undertaken really broad engagement over the period of a year nearly with a wide range of stakeholders and the development of this refreshed strategy. We've worked with council staff across many different units to ensure a partner-centric approach. We've met with almost all unit heads across council who universally support the draft strategy, including ELT. We've met with all community boards across the city and worked with specific working group from your committee who have helped us to develop up the draft. And our working group has consisted of both internal staff and external representatives from agencies, community agencies across the city and sectors. We think we've captured the essence of those conversations and the community aspirations, and feel now we're ready to take it out to public consultation to get feedback on the proposed direction. So we're looking forward to talking to residents and community groups throughout the consultation period, and we'll be encouraging submissions and the use of hearings too if they wish to speak in person. So we're really cognizant of the difficulties at present with COVID, and we'll be looking for innovative ways to engage with the community. We'll be specifically holding sessions with representatives of the community, like our Multicultural Advisory Group, our Disability Advisory Group, our Youth Committee, and a range of other networks that we are involved with, both at a local neighbourhood level and also at a metropolitan level. So we're really at that stage now where we're seeking your permission to proceed forward to community consultation.
Thanks, Claire. Just at a high level, because this is a sort of review of the old strategy, what are some of the key differences between this draft and the old strategy?
I think when we did the evaluation, we understood that through many conversations with people that the old strategy was out of date, really, even in the language. We found that it was long, it didn't have a clear reporting and monitoring framework around it. It was repetitious. It did, as I say, lack a framework for monitoring the achievement of its goals. And so a lot's changed since 2007, as we all know. The world has changed, and Christchurch in particular has gone through an enormous amount of disruption. And I think the new strategy looks at that and looks at where we need to take and work with the community to go forward, particularly in that preparedness area of supporting communities to thrive in disruption, and support those communities to work together more effectively to be prepared, and that includes climate change too. That wasn't on the agenda back in 2007.
Thanks so much. Do we have questions from councillors? Jimmy.
Okay, yeah. Yesterday I sent 2 questions to the office of CE regarding to list the items, and I have not yet received a response. The first question regarding if we review on page 66, even we reviewed page 75 and 79, we can see this draft of Ōtautahi Christchurch community strategy consists of a lot of affiliate strategies. For instance, like a multicultural strategy, social housing strategy, heritage strategy, Christchurch transport strategic plan, as well as climate change strategy, etc. But in considering, each strategy of all these strategies have an individual implementation plan for the implementation of individual strategy. So my question is how to distinguish each strategy clearly with the draft Ōtautahi Christchurch community strategy to avoid the duplication for the implementation of the Christchurch community strategy. Second question is, I didn't see the budget can support for the implementation of the new strategy. These are two questions.
Thanks, Jimmy. Claire, have you got some answers for us there?
Yeah, thanks, Jimmy. We're aware that there are a range of other strategies out there that are probably broader in scope and specific to the actual strategies that they are, but there are areas of commonality. And we've worked with those units of council that hold those strategies to ensure that any implementation under the broader and the more higher level community strategy, those areas of commonality are included in our implementation plan. There is an internal implementation plan that has levels of service across the organisation attached to each action. And some of those will be the responsibility of other units of council that hold the ownership of those strategies. But every action has an associated level of service that's already budgeted for through our long-term plan. So there's no additional resources required at this stage.
Thanks for that, Claire. Is that all good with you, Jimmy?
I understand, yeah, but I just want to, remind the staff, because this strategy most important is for future implementation, and also we have the reasonable, sufficient budget to support for the implementation. This is my concern, because we already council published lots of the existing strategy. However, there's a gap between our funding provision and our implementation for all those strategies. This is my particular concern. I do hope this strategy can be avoided happen again. Yes.
Thanks, Jimmy. It sounds like it's covered. Yanni, and then Anne.
Yeah, thank you. Just a specific question on the actions. Has each action been costed?
Each action will have been. Oh, sorry. Am I on?
Yes, you are. Yep.
Oh, sorry.
There's a small echo, but it's fine.
Each action will have been costed, but we haven't specifically done that against the levels of service, and we're really happy to go back and do that and cost those out for you.
So where people are frustrated at the length of time that it takes for council to respond through, resolutions that are passed, how will the strategy help address that when it talks about effective decision making at a local level without additional resource?
I think the strategy is not only about what we do, but about how we do it. And I think we have signalled very clearly in this new strategy that a new way of working is required. And we think that if we do that, we can do that within our existing levels of service, as I've said. But it is actually a new way of how we're going to work, how we're going to be accountable, and how we're going to engage the community in partnership much more than we have done previously.
So Claire, one thing that we've discussed actually earlier this morning was the potential for during sort of annual plan and long-term plan processes, making sure that the actual plans and strategies that we have are highlighted and not just the levels of service, so that we can make good budgeting decisions around implementation of the strategies rather than just the levels of service. Is that possible?
Absolutely.
Great, thank you.
So I just had several more questions. Wanted to check around, so if I look at the actions, for example, it just seems to me that we're still missing measurables. So we want to improve the perception of safety, but we're not saying how much, just to give you one tangible example on page 60. So it says we will increase positive perception of Central City after dark and encourage community activities that increase volunteering. do we have any actual targets that we can put in so that we can monitor against the things that we say we're going to do?
Absolutely, and that was going to come after the draft strategy comes back, and that would be our internal implementation, setting those targets. So that's another body of work that we'll be undertaking after our consultation, making sure that the community are happy with our general direction. We'll be setting those targets. And
I guess the question is, how does the community have a say in what those targets are, or whether they are realistic or aspirational or achievable, if we don't put them out in the consultation document?
Well, we can definitely do that before we go out to consultation, if that is what if that's what the committee want us to do, is to set those targets.
I don't know how others feel, but personally, I think it's good to set targets with our community rather than after we've adopted it. The final question I just wanted to ask was,
sorry, hang on, Yanni, can we just get a bit of advice from John and maybe Katie on doing that as well? Thanks, John.
Thank you, Sarah. We're really at a stage where we wish the community and council, in considering the community's views, to give us a definite steer before we determine targets. After we get this steer, we'd want to work with our partner groups, say in the inner city, say city mission, police and so forth, to determine a target collaboratively rather than impose one and then go out for consultation. So this is an iterative process. We believe that we are now at a stage where community consultation is vital to continue, and we would prefer not to delay the actually going out and getting the community's views too much longer. We don't want to lose momentum, and we want to engage at the right time rather than engage on a fait accompli.
Right. And the final question I had was, it talks about community boards. And so can you tell me what the strategy is going to do differently with community boards to make sure that they're more effective and that they reflect community desires and aspirations as we're told in this document on page 62? And yeah, I was just really keen to understand what this means for our local community boards, what changes will be done as a result of the strategy, if it's agreed, to improve decision making at that local level and community engagement. Thank you.
I think, Yanni, if we improve our partnerships at a local level with community, it will definitely improve the community board's ability to make decisions based on what the communities want. I do think that there is room for us to work on the community board plans to make sure that they are reflective of what the community are wanting going forward as well. So I think that the strategy confirms the work that our staff do out in the local communities. It also provides us with an opportunity to improve the connections between community boards and the community. So I'm not sure if that's answered your question.
Not really. I think
no.
If you look at, like, for example, local issues in our area where community come to the community board, they raise an issue, they're then told that it can't be addressed because it's not in the community board plan, so they have to wait for the community board plan. It gets put in the community board plan, but there's no funding through council's budget to do what's in the community board plan, so then they're told they have to wait for the annual plan. It doesn't get approved through the annual plan. It's told that it has to go through the LTP. Then it goes to the LTP and it's ruled out of order and said that it's for the community board to fund. And that takes about 3 years. So I can't see, I think the key issue is the way council deals with community boards and how we resource community boards to actually do the things that local people are asking. And I guess what I don't see in this, I see a lot of the right language, but I don't see what's actually going to be done differently if there's not resource being put into making sure that that can happen in a more timely way.
Thank you, Yanni.
John, do you have a response to that one?
Yes, only that I think there will be, each community board has a different way of working. Each community board has some subtle differences in how it engages with its community and different experiences. I can say that there's now a level of service over the production and the regular reporting of community board plans. They are now official council plans. A report will be brought back to this committee later in the year over the achievement of the last year's board plan. That's the probably appropriate forum for all of these issues, performance, non-performance, to be teased out in a citywide committee of the council and feedback brought back to the boards themselves. There's also a level of service whereby council officers have to contact a certain number of community groups through the year, gain an appraisal of how well or not we are doing, and report that back to the community board and back to this committee. There's also the ongoing work on community board delegations and subsidiarity, the localised decision making, and from time to time, not every aspect of every single community board plan will be immediately attainable. Some are deliverable quickly, some are longer term projects, and that's the very nature of having a comprehensive plan. That's probably about it, Sarah.
Thanks, John. Okay, now we have Anne and Jimmy and Yanni, your hands are both up still. So if you could take those down, that'd be great. Anne?
Sorry, I don't know how to disappear
okay.
Lisa.
If someone else could do that for Jimmy,
someone can do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. And then Mike.
Kia ora, Claire and Katie. This is, firstly, congratulations on all the huge effort that you've put into getting as much feedback as possible from as many diverse groups as possible. And that's reflected in the strategy. But going forward in terms of engagement, and Katie, this is a question for you. Given that you've identified that there are many groups in our communities who are difficult to engage with, for many reasons, there are barriers. I'm just wondering how you're going to, what kind of strategies are you going to use to make sure that you connect with those people who might have, English language as a second language, for example, or who may not be confident in engaging with local authorities in any way. So I'm just interested to hear how you're going to get this out to as many people as possible.
Yeah, are you going to start with this one? I can if you'd like me to.
Yeah,
that'd be great. Yep.
Yep. So, obviously we've got some challenges. Am I coming up on screen?
You are.
Sorry. Oh, great. Excellent. We have some challenges, obviously, at this time, but we will be making the most of our existing channels. Claire has made sure that it's going to be translated. The information, not the full strategy, but information about the strategy is translated into 12 different languages. Claire is very well connected. And we'll be making sure that the groups know that this consultation is happening. We're looking at putting in as much kind of like flexibility into how people would like to give their submissions as possible. So if traditionally, obviously, we rely on the written. However, for this one, we are looking at as if people would like to do it orally, if people would like to do it with video. We're trying to think as broadly as we possibly can on how people might like to provide us with feedback as part of this. And and then obviously face-to-face is a hugely important aspect of this, and we do have a huge number of drop-ins for this engagement. Obviously, that's a little up in the air at the moment. So we're looking at how we can move that online. And if that's not appropriate, then I guess what other ways that we can connect in with different groups to make sure that they're aware of their opportunity to have their say, and that if they want to, that they can.
Thanks,
Great.
Katie.
Thanks, Katie.
Yeah, just a follow-up
Your video is off, Anne, just saying.
Yes. I realise that, sorry. I'm not sure how that happened. There we go. It's not coming up. Sorry, something's going on here.
Yeah, thanks.
Try again. No good. Anyway, just in terms of targets, Yanni was talking about targets before. Have you identified particular groups that you want to make sure that you connect with, and how will you know that you have?
Anne, are you talking about the consultation or
Yes,
yes, yeah. Well, we're all pretty well connected across the city with either our own local community groups and also across the metropolitan area. In the pre-engagement, we identified a wide range of community groups that we wanted and people that we wanted to talk to that don't usually either have an opportunity to submit or don't feel confident in coming forward to council. And an example of that was working with the City Mission men's and women's groups, are quite a vulnerable and marginalised group of the community. So we'll be going back to speak to those people who have helped us in the development of the strategy. We understand that there are communities that aren't confident in participating in the democratic process. They are those communities from diverse ethnic backgrounds, the disability community as well. So we are aware of those groups, and we will be approaching those leaders individually to see how best they would like to engage with this process.
Okay, is that all good, Anne?
Yeah, that's good, thank you. And I'm not sure why my video is not up, but maybe Sam can help me with it's not coming up from my end.
Right, thank you. Mike.
Thank you, and thanks for everything. It's really, really good. But there's just one. I don't normally like to wordsmith during these types of meetings, but I just noticed in the diagram you have on the agenda page 54, you use the word mana whenua. And I'm just wondering, really, that should be tangata whenua if we're talking about the people.
Page 54.
Yeah, the wee diagram.
Is this the primary relationship?
Yes. Yes.
Description?
Yes. And you've got the wee diagram.
Yeah, our primary relationship from a governance perspective is with mana whenua. And we've taken our guidance from Kaharoa and Shane on that.
I don't. So I don't disagree with the relation being with mana whenua. I'm talking about the diagram itself, where you have the circle and you have tangata tiriti at the bottom, which is obviously people that are not tangata whenua. So if you're looking at the top one, which is mana whenua, which is obviously they have authority over the land, actually tangata whenua are the people. But if you've had advice, that's right, that's fine. But not my understanding.
Yes. We have.
No, Mike's right. Mike's right. The diagram should say tangata whenua. It should. It's what it says in the brackets underneath.
I'll go back.
It does. 3 lines underneath. It does give tangata whenua. Yeah.
Cool.
But you will be allowed to do those minor tweaks anyway.
Yeah,
ahead
absolutely.
of that. So that's great. Thanks for pointing that out, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other further questions? If not, do we have someone to move the recommendations? Mike, you moving? Great. Do I have a seconder? Melanie? Okay. Any debate? Yanni, and then Leanne, then Jimmy.
Thank you. I want to acknowledge the work that staff have done on this. I think there's been a lot of good work go into it. I just feel that we're missing several opportunities. One is that we really need to think about our community boards and local service delivery. We need to think about resourcing the boards to actually be responsive to community needs. And I just don't see that the strategy actually deals with that, even though it makes all the right noises towards doing it. It doesn't actually provide the mechanism. So I personally would have liked this strategy to be much more focused with clear targets and clear levels of resourcing to achieve the things that we say we're going to do. But in my view, there's a lot of stuff in here that sounds really good. The problem is that we know in reality, that these things will not happen unless they're resourced and unless we make a commitment to resourcing it. So I'm really concerned about the strategy from that point of view. The thing is that, you know, it shouldn't be this difficult, but we should set clear targets and talk to our community about the cost of achieving those targets so that we can get feedback from people over what they want us to do. What I'm worried about is if we put out a strategy that doesn't have clear targets, then the community find it really hard to give meaningful feedback and engagement. So I'm really concerned at that. The other thing is that there is some really good stuff in here, and I think there's some acknowledgement of gaps where we haven't been as focused as we should have in the past. And I think just to highlight one of those is our engagement with Pacific peoples. So I really, you know, endorse having reference to that. But again, I come back to, unless we're able to commit to resource, then these things won't happen. And we know through the annual plan and the long-term plan processes that actually the system doesn't work. If you take the community boards, for example, we're now being told at our community board that we have to purchase services off the city council for anything to happen. And we have to fund things through discretionary to do basic operational things that our community have requested. It is a very inefficient and timely process that does not deliver good outcomes in a reasonable timeframe for our communities. So I think I won't support this strategy today. I think there's more work that needs to be done before it goes out for public consultation. I think it's got a lot of good things in it. I think the other key concern is that, you know, the resilient Greater Christchurch plan, it just appears like, again, we're adopting strategies, but we really do need to have a clear way of measuring and monitoring against those strategies and not just create strategies that then reinvent other strategies that we've already adopted that haven't achieved what we said we were going to achieve. Thank you.
Thanks, Yanni. Leanne.
Thank you. I just want to speak briefly, and it's really around the introduction and background to this, because this is such a substantial step forward from where we were prior to the earthquakes. The introduction says that the people of Ōtautahi Christchurch have experienced significant disruption over the past 10 years as the city recovers from the effects of a devastating series of earthquakes, other events such as floods, fires and terror attacks, and most recently a pandemic, have added to these stressors. Our communities have navigated house repairs, rebuilds, relocations, school closures, protracted insurance negotiations, employment and business insecurity, trauma, personal loss and uncertainty. Some of us continue to struggle with the effects of the last decade's events. But it goes on to say, so I just wanted to kind of put that in that context of where we've come from in the last 10 years. But it's the next paragraph that just speaks to me about where we've come to and where we're going. These collective stressors have also been the catalyst for creativity, community leadership, innovation and collective action across the city and within local communities. We want to build on this and enhance the way we work together through a range of partnerships. The time for central government and local government to think that they can do things for communities so that communities can be strengthened, communities can become more resilient, that somehow central government or local government can do it for them. Those days are over, and we're looking right at a new way of thinking, which is essentially that we look to our community. It's the community that has agency under this strategy, not the do for, but the do together and what we can achieve together. And that to me came through loud and clear in our LTP process. So I'm very happy to see this go out for consultation.
That's great. Thanks, Leanne. Jimmy.
Thank you. Firstly, I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the officers, staff, particularly over the past almost 1 year for establish this comprehensive report and also through the kind of informal process, my understanding. Second is we are all aware the function, the purpose of the council strategy. Consider two other aspects. First aspect is for the complying with the council's strategic framework, particularly regarding to the principles, committee outcomes, and strategic priorities, especially complying with the committee the outcomes because they consist of social, socio-economic and environment well-being. The other aspect is for the implementation of this strategy to achieve the council's community outcome. So if we review the draft strategy, because like page 66, 75, 79, we can see these strategies kind of umbrella the huge strategy, including quite a few affiliate strategy. So how to kind of distinguish each the strategy of council already published, and also this strategy clearly to avoid for the implementation for the in the future. This will be very crucial. The other one is we still need to consider seriously regarding to the budget, whether we have allocated sufficient budget to support, for the implementation of the strategy. That's very crucial. The other one, like Yanni in particular mentioned, community board is the grassroots and the local level, the organization. So they are very crucial organization for the implementation of that strategy. So how to strengthen the communication with the community board and support the community board have reasonable resources for implementation of that strategy. That's very crucial. So in principle, I support this draft strategy, go to consultation, and after feedback, when we establish the detailed the implementation plan, we can consider all those factors. Thank you.
Thanks, Jimmy. Anne.
Kia ora, and I am having technical difficulties that we can't fix, unfortunately, so I am off screen. But I wanted to once again thank this Claire and her team for the amazing amount of work that's gone into this. Huge effort it shows a real desire to be inclusive, to really get out there and talk with every sector of our community. You've done a tremendous job of that. I think that we are recognising in this that our city is changing, has changed and is changing. I think the challenge is really to get the message across that we really want to hear from everybody in our community, and to really get the message across that their voices are valued and important. So that's a bit of a challenge, but I think listening to Katie and the great work that's being done there to engage with people, to get their feedback, to talk to them about this, I look forward to having a tremendously strong response from the community about this. I think you talk in the document about strengthening leadership and getting leadership coming from different parts of our community, and later we'll be talking about funding, and I think our youth, our young people, and really strengthening them to come through into leadership is one way that we can, when we fund those things, we can get that happening. So just a little plug there. So thanks again for the work, and look forward to hearing feedback from the community.
That's great. Any further debate? No, in that case,
look forward to hearing.
Someone in the background? No? Okay, in that case, I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please raise your thumbs.
I'll say aye.
Oh, yeah, you've got, just everyone's mics, so it's easier visually to see that.
Yeah, but I don't think you can see me.
Yeah, no. Any against? Yanni, and so Yanni, do you want that recorded against? Yeah. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt. I think Aaron's online too with that video that I saw before.
Okay. Where is Aaron? Aaron,
yes.
You may not have been here at the beginning of the meeting. I'm not quite sure when you arrived, but one of the guidelines for the meetings that was sent through in an email is to keep your video on. That way you'll appear on the first screen, and that people are aware when you're there and when you're not there. It's part of the requirements for running these meetings live stream.
Okay. Why is most of the videos are off?
They're staff
On
members
screen?
rather than elected members.
Oh,
So
right.
for elected member attendance is recorded for meetings
okay.
and keeping your video on. And if you need to leave at any stage, then you need to email the Secretariat so that it can be recorded.
But if the
That was in
video
the
on
email
time
that was
wouldn't
sent
receive
out.
it, I'd left.
That's right. So
Yeah.
Anne's having a glitch at the moment, you might have heard, but you'll need to turn your video on.
It's a tech glitch in the device. Yeah, unfortunately, nothing much we can do about it at the moment. But when we have a break, I'll talk to somebody and see what we can do.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay.
Thanks.
Cool.
So just waiting, Aaron. Thanks.
Sweet. Yes.
View video. Okay. Right. So was there anyone else against? Since I can't see. Aaron, which way were you voting on the adoption of the draft? Because I wasn't able to see or hear you.
Yes, I'm fine.
Thank you. Okay. In that case, I declare that carried and we'll move on.